Okay, game fans, we're closing in on the season finale. I don't know, I might do what I've been doing for the past few weeks where I've kind of sit on two episodes, watch them back to back, and then do my reviews in the same fashion. I've actually been loving that kind of setup for these videos just because when the show first came out, we had two episodes, and then weeks 3, 4, and 5, I watched every week. But yeah, episodes, oh, actually, no, it was episode 5 and 6 that I watched back to back, and then 7 and 8 I just did this morning. I've kind of preferred it that way, just because, I'd rather have double episodes to enjoy, as opposed to waiting, oh God, I watched this episode, it was good, but now I gotta wait a whole week for a new one. So this is episode 8, Snips, Clips, and Share Sits, which, man, this is some heavy stuff. Now, we have a episode that's really focused on Tasha and her relationship with Kai, her daughter. And also on the flip side, Tasha and Malik. And it really does hit some heavy topics here in regards to, how black women are treated due to their hair. Do they cut it, unbraid it, do what they have to do to conform to, what society wants them to do? Or is it a situation where, do you stand your ground and rock your hair the way you want to be represented? So I'll give this episode a 9 out of 10 due to the fact that it covers some very heavy topics, not to mention a certain cameo at the very end that has me going, oh snap, oh snap. I can't wait till episode 9, but oh snap. But yeah, before going further in the video, make sure you take a moment to hit like, hit subscribe, hit that bell icon and select all. That way you don't miss out whenever I post content on the channel. Follow me on social media. Links are in the description below. And yeah, as always, I want you to make sure you keep up when I post content, even though the shows are kind of on hiatus this week. That doesn't mean I won't have more content to review in the near future. So yeah, the bell icon and selecting all and hitting subscribe really do make the difference. So this episode follows up on the Hard Blocks documentary style series that happened in episode 8. And one of the biggest things to talk about here is the fact that Malik is still seeing Caleb, and he tries to pass it off as being, oh, I just been smoking too much, I see when I'm high. But Jameson kind of confronts him on that and suggests that he gets therapeutic help. It isn't always about, simply talking to another brother in the barbershop or, doing this or that. Sometimes you just need a professional opinion just to make sure you're A-okay, not just physically, but mentally. Because they actually have a moment where, he has to go on television to make an appearance and he needs his hair cut, and Jameson actually knows how to cut hair pretty good. I cut my own hair. I ain't saying I'm a pro, but I'm pretty decent. I just kind of cut mine almost damn near bald, and it grows back within a few days, couple of weeks. So, it is what it is. But I'm not confident enough to cut somebody else's hair. Now, the backlash of the cliffhanger ending of last week was, or should I say last episode, not last week, was the fact that the reason Derwin had the scoop on that racist tweet of Keith Kincaid was the fact that Malik was the one who dropped it. He pretty much leaked the racist tweet from back in the day. And Jameson says, look, when it comes to your parents or your mom specifically, you want to mend that relationship as soon as possible, because Tasha is pissed off that her son basically did that to her. In episode 6, she was pissed off at Derwin, but, he was kind of made to make him shady. Like, okay, so Derwin, why don't you release the source of the tweet? I can't do that, Tasha. And then, she was on his podcast and pretty much, let the story be known from her perspective of what happened. And then in the last episode, it was revealed that her former assistant got the news from Malik. So even though it isn't fully explained, I guess the way that it kind of fell together was Malik was the one who dug up the tweet, passed it along to Tasha's former assistant, who he had sex with before. And then I guess she was the person that sourced that information to Derwin in order for him to bring it up during the press conference. So yeah, it's just one of those things where Tasha ain't too fond of how Malik handled the situation. Now, the reason he's in his feelings is because of the fact that he's kind of jealous that his mother would go to bat for Keith, a white boy who said something racist online, but pretty much sold him out to the Colonel by not having his back to get his ownership, but instead has to play the game for another year, even though he's making $30 million for it. Now, later in the episode, when he's at the gym, the guys all throw their shoes away because towards the beginning of the episode, there was this cool scene where, Jameson and Malik are going to practice, and Jameson's pushing a cart full of all the free sneakers that he's going to give to the team. And it turns out when they go inside, it's like a prom setting, and Jameson doesn't want to be part of it because it turns out they're recreating the night his life went to hell. Because remember, in the last episode, it was revealed to the world about what happened during his prom night. Well, not everything, but just the fact that, do you still love your girlfriend? I mean, your girlfriend at the time. And he couldn't answer. So the team does this really messed up thing where they reenact the prom night. They're dressed up as one person's dressed up as Allison, and other person's pretending to be Jameson, and the guy that's pretending to be named Connor, that's the same actor that plays Chris the bartender on Sisters, the one who works at the gay bar that Maurice goes to. Basically, he's kind of confidant. And they reenacted, I'm not gonna lie, I replayed this scene like 8 times because it was so damn funny. Not to mention the song Spend My Life With You. Love it. I haven't heard it in ages. So it was so messed up. Jameson throws a fit saying, what kind of family is this that you would take a man's, the worst day of a man's life and make a joke out of it? And I ain't gonna lie, like, they literally blew up his mug shot, and Jameson feels for prom king. He rips off the picture on his locker room area, and like all these corsages and flowers falls out, and he's like, I got one question for y'all, who gonna pin this flower to me? And I was dying. It was messed up, but it was like good to see Jameson laugh about the situation, just because of the fact that he's been so, I don't even want to say sour, but understandably down for this entire series so far, where he's just trying to make a change in his life. He made a mistake. He wants to do better. He wants to make the team, he's just trying to do right. And there's always going to be the constant reminder of what he did in the past, even though he's changed as a person. This is different from in the Oval. I mean, the Oval, where we really don't see that many layers to Barry's personality. I just need to find my daughter. But in the game, it's kind of interesting how the Oval is almost I forgot the exact episode count, but we're already past 50 episodes, I think, and we've barely gotten to know Barry outside of the fact that he was a good kid. He and Ruth had a thing in the past. They have a daughter together. He's with Sharon, but then he's an asshole to her most of the time, and he doesn't even have a real job. He does a bunch of odd jobs around the neighborhood. He's hard-headed most of the time, and he gets mixed up in a lot of bad situations, and that's about it. But in the game, not even 10 episodes, which is the full episode count for the season, we've learned so much about Jameson. Like, even later on in the episode, he apologizes to Brittany due to the fact that, he blew up at her in the last episode. I'm not saying she deserved it, but at the same time, I can understand Jameson being pissed off at her. And he actually asked her out, but she's more concerned about a pitch for, a club idea she has to the Colonel. Basically, like the team owners, like, hey, this is a pitch I have, and, hope you allow me to pursue it. And this look, I was a communications major in college, so it was interesting to hear Brittany's pitch, but Jameson basically brought up the SWOT analysis, and you're like, what's a SWOT? Essentially, that's like a strategy in advertising. SWOT, SWOT, strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat. And that was the main thing here that Brittany was missing, the opportunity. And not to mention, if you don't want to count W as a weakness, just the why, like why. And she pretty much brings up why this club would just be kind of a way of bringing the football field to those who are in the club, or allowing the club to be an extension of the football field for the players. So it really is a win-win for everybody. However, after killing the sales pitch, I mean, at first it's like, hey, don't call us, we'll call you. But then she broke down the why. That's what really sold the Colonel and his son to the idea that Brittany presented. And it's like, they think Tasha's also going to be involved. So that's a uh-oh. And remember, this is something Tasha told Brittany not to do behind her back. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens there. But overall, you got to admire Brittany's hustle. Now, at the tail end of the episode, Jameson and Brittany go somewhere, basically to his old neighborhood. Turns out his mother isn't dead, which was something that seemed to be the case throughout the episode. But she's actually someone who has an addiction and doesn't want help. And, he points her out hanging out with a couple other, addicts on the street, and pretty much tells the story about how he's tried to help multiple times, but she didn't want it. And Brittany's like, well, hopefully one day I get to meet her, because I see that's where you get your smile. And you kind of see where it's going between the two. And they later on make it back to her apartment, and she says, hey, Raquel's staying with Garrett. And that's one thing that was mentioned in the last episode. Garrett has been missing in action in practice, basically kind of, I guess you could say protesting unless he gets a bigger contract, which is one of the reasons why the lead running back was let go to fund Garrett and Malik. Now, when it comes down to it, those two were possibly going to spend the night together, because Brittany's like, hey, you want to stay watching movies? Oh yeah, I can't, curfew. And then next thing you know, they start making out, and then Jason Pitts comes around the corner. I'll give you 10 seconds to step away from my daughter and vacate the property. So he leaves, and Jason's like, hey, we have a lot to talk about. And then that's the end of the episode. But going back to Tasha, her daughter unfortunately has to face a black profiling situation in regards to her hair. She's about to have a tennis match at the new school she's at, and basically her opponent is a white girl, and for some reason, she kind of like shakes her head at Gia's hairstyle, the fact that she has the beads and everything to look like Serena. She goes over to talk to, I guess, like the referee or something, and basically Gia is faced with the choice to either take her braids out in the beads and whatnot, or forfeit the match. And the person in charge is like, hey, well, we never lost because of a forfeit, and she doesn't want to lose her hair, so she wants her mom. So Tasha is in the middle of a photo shoot, and I cannot name the actress who's the photographer, but I swear she's been in something Tyler Perry related before. So Tasha drops everything to go see what's going on, and because there's a situation. So on the plus side, her daughter not only played in the match, but she won. But by the time that Tasha got to the school, it turned out that at first I thought that, okay, maybe her daughter, tried to do a rush job in order to get the beads out of her hair. Like, okay, so they were on a timetable, so she was able to like undo half some of the beads, but not all of them. But it turned out like the principal, the head of the school, that woman, I believe, who was all at the all-white party that Tasha threw a couple episodes ago, she actually cut/maimed a bunch of her hair off. And I'm like, oh my God. Tasha was ready to take those scissors and cut her, but two security guards came in, and the black woman who works at the school, who Brittany met, and this is like if Tasha was at the actual school during the scrub, basically, where the women, all scrub and clean the school, she would have met her, but she basically vouched for Tasha, so they had a talk. And it's crazy to me that's what happened. So they actually go to a salon in order to fix up her hair, and she wanted to look like Serena, but Tasha encouraged her about being all natural. So Tasha takes her weave out and then does a natural look, which looks fierce. I mean, that was the best word to describe it. And they actually have a great moment later on when they're at the photo shoot, and I love that moment. But during the salon scene, Tasha's talking with the other women about what happened. It turns out the woman at the school found video footage of the white woman cutting Tasha's daughter's hair, and I'm like, that's so messed up. So there's no telling what Tasha could do to that school. I mean, she tried to put it on Tasha like, well, if you were here to watch the game and everything, it's like, this ain't got nothing to do with Tasha being there or not being there. It's the fact that you made her child, all for the sake of winning a tennis trophy. So dang. But it was a good lesson. I just love the Tasha and Gia moments, just because of the fact that you really see that she is a mother who cares about her children, despite the fact that more often than not her business takes priority. But I'm happy how she just dropped everything to go see what was going on with her daughter. Now, moving on to the very last scene, Tasha shows up at the football stadium, or the basically the location of the team practice field and whatnot, to talk to Malik and basically to get an apology, because he makes an appearance on the Gayle King show and pulls a Tasha, brings out Keith to make an apology. So taking a moment that was supposed to be about him, but making it into something else, to apologize to his mom, to clear the air about Keith's situation. And it's like, yeah, you just got how does it feel, Tasha Mack, to be Tasha Mack? And he's like, you know what, you learned well. But unfortunately, Malik doesn't offer a sincere apology. It's basically, we're even. It's like, well, hey, how about this? It turns out he found the tweet prior to his mom making history as, you know, a black woman being the agent for an up-and-coming football star like Keith, a white player. And instead of doing that beforehand or giving her knowledge of it, well, we saw what happened. So basically, his eye for an eye, or you scratch my back, I scratch yours, is like, oh yeah, you said that $30 million windfall was, you know, the way to soothe your ego, or my ego, when it came to not being able to own a team for another year. You should feel the same way about me and the Keith Kincaid tweet situation. So, who would you rather be exposed by, or have this player exposed by? You know, me, your son, or just some random stranger? So Tasha's like, look, you're my client, I'm your agent. If you ever need me, feel free to call. But if you need me as a mother, lose my damn number. And that's the end of the episode. So that was pretty intense. But overall, I thought this was a great episode. I mean, hell, even going back to the salon scene, there are different perspectives of it. I mean, you have black women who are like, you know, on Tasha's side, like, it's a damn shame how, you know, we're treated for our hair and everything. We have to conform to what white society feels like we should look like, as opposed to being, you know, our natural selves. While there's another woman who's like, well, damn, did she win the match? Yes. Then what does it matter? And then when Tasha dumped that hair on her lap, is like, it's just hair, right? What does it matter? Keep it. And then she's like, oh, wow. So, yeah, I mean, the game, it's been tackling some pretty heavy subjects, even though we're only a few episodes into this season. So let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. I really enjoyed this episode. And yeah, I can't wait to see Jason and Brittany having a sit down in episode 9. I wish Brittany Pitts, or not Brittany, but Kelly was in the season, but we know that she actually had a baby. So that really didn't line up well with the show's filming and everything. So maybe she'll show up in season 11. So let's talk about it in the comment section below. Remember, like and subscribe really does help the channel. And if you would like to donate, feel free to do so on PayPal or Cash App.